Hello, my name is Kristen and this is Kristen Craves Books. So if you watched my last few videos, you will notice that I am in a completely different setting. I actually am at my parents' summer place. They have a place in a small beach town here in Ontario, so I usually spend a couple months here. So I'll be here all of August and probably all of September as well. So as you can imagine, deciding what books to bring for that is probably the most stressful part of the packing for me. And I'm looking at tons of books here to show you, and it's still not enough in my head because I am such a mood reader that I need options. There's a bookstore not far away, so I did buy 3 books there recently that I'm also just going to show you at the end of this. But let's get into it. I'm not going to give you full summaries for all these because it is a lot. So these are all the books that I brought with me on vacation. And bear in mind, it's a 2-month vacation, so it's a lot. And I've actually already been here for a bit. That's why I haven't posted a lot recently, but I'm going to get back into the groove of filming. So I've read 3 books since I've been here, and I'm in the middle of one. So I'll talk about the one that I'm in the middle of because I'm loving it. And you have to read this now. It's a perfect summer read. It's called It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. And the main character in this, Piper, is inspired by Alexis from Schitt's Creek. And actually, Tessa Bailey has an acknowledgement in the front here where she says how special that character of Alexis is. And she talks about 2020 a little bit in here. And it's just great. So Piper is from LA and she's a party girl, and something happens where her stepfather sends her to her biological father's hometown, and that is where she meets Brendan. And this book really reads like if Luke from Gilmore Girls was dating Alexis from Schitt's Creek, and it's adorable. I am loving every second of this. It is very steamy, but I'm loving he's a fisherman, so getting some info on that world is interesting. And Piper has all the charm that Alexis is. She's spoiled, she acknowledges that, but she forms connections easily. She makes everybody's day brighter. She really has that charm that Alexis has. So I'm loving this. I'm on page 295, so I have less than 100 pages left, and I think this will be a 5-star read for me. And then the last book I read was another summary book, and this is Where the Rhythm Takes You. This is actually a YA romance, and as it says in the tagline, it says first love, second chance. So it is really a story of having a second try with your first love. And this is following Reina, who lives in Tobago, and her family owns a resort, and her mom has passed away. And she's very loyal to this resort because it's a connection to her mom. Her mom wanted her to run it. So her ex-boyfriend has left Tobago, and he's now actually in a really famous band, and him and his band members come back to the island, and they had kind of a rocky breakup, some miscommunication there, and it's really just their story. And I thought there was a lot of growth in here. I love that Reina is an artist because I'm always drawn to characters who are into art or music or something like that. And I ended up giving this 4 stars. I really thought this was a sweet story, but I'll talk more about it in my wrap up. Then I have a book that I feel like everybody's talking about. Everybody has rated 5 stars, and I am no exception. I absolutely loved this book. It is Ace of Spades. I think this deserves all the hype that it is getting and more. It's pitched as dark academia, but I'm not sure that it is. It's just set in high school, but it's not a boarding school. Something about college and dark academia feels like it has to be boarding school to me. I don't know why, but anyways, this is a thriller, and even in the beginning there are a quote from Gossip Girl and one from Get Out, and that's really what this is. It's a perfect combination of both of those and a little bit of Pretty Little Liars. So we're following 2 characters and we're getting both of their perspectives, and they are the only Black students in this private school. And they are being targeted by somebody who is called Ace and is sending text messages and photos about their past and their dark secrets to everybody in the school, and everybody kind of turns on them. And these 2 characters have never spoken. They are not friends, but they kind of get together to figure out what's going on here. And I was on the edge of my seat. It unravels in such an interesting way. There's some great commentary, and I don't know, it's just so brilliant. You really have to read this. I really liked what the author did with this, and this is her debut novel, and she said in the back here that she wrote this, started writing this when she was a freshman in college, and now I believe she's graduating, which is just incredible. I cannot wait to see what she writes next because I thought this was incredible. And the tagline is, how would you stop an unknown enemy? So loved it, loved it, loved it. And as you will see, I've had such a great run of reads lately because another 5-star read here is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. And this is a big book. It's not usually the kind of fantasy that I go for, but something about it drew me to it. And I've noticed that Orbit is a publisher I'm really liking. I'm just newer to fantasy, but if I see it's published by Orbit, I'm more intrigued by it. They have really some really interesting books this year that I have my eye on. But this one is actually a sapphic story, but it is the start of a trilogy, so it's such a slow burn romance in that way, and the romance really is in the background. But we're following a captive princess whose brother is keeping her in captivity, and then a maidservant who has forbidden magic, and something happens where the princess discovers that the maidservant has this magic, and they kind of team up to save the princess and do some other things. I don't want to talk about it too much. You really need to just go into this and experience it for yourself because the world building is really interesting. I'm really intrigued by the magic system in here. There's some compelling side characters. You don't know really who to trust, and I just cannot believe that this is the first book in a trilogy because I am so ready for the next book, and I think it's going to be a long wait because look how big this book is. And I really loved Suri's writing, and I know she has another series that I need to get to because this was brilliant. So those are the ones that I've read already or I'm in the middle of. So now I will talk about the ones that I have to choose from over the next couple months. So first up I have The Black Kids, and I've been hearing some great things about this one. Something about this gorgeous cover just made it feel like a summer read to me, and I know that it takes place in LA in the early 90s during everything that happened with Rodney King, and our main character is really getting her first experience of what it's like to be a black person in America. She's grown up around white people and had a more privileged life, so this was a really eye-opening time for her. And I think it's really just a coming-of-age story in that way. I don't know much else about the plot, but I've heard it's really interesting and it revolves around the protests and things like that. So I would love to get to this one really soon. It's really one that I'm in the mood for. And then we also have a signed book here, and it's Wings of Ebony, and this is by JL. And I honestly don't know much about this. I saw it was signed and I grabbed it, but I remember seeing some people talking about this when it first came out. And I really have been enjoying some YA fantasy lately. What I do know about this is that we're following Rue, whose mother dies, and then her father comes to get her, and she realizes that she actually comes from a world where there is magic and her existence is illegal. So even just knowing that little intrigues me. The cover's stunning. I love that it's signed, and I can look at this underneath the jacket. It's so stunning. And I can actually see myself getting to this one relatively soon because I think it'll be a quick read, and I've read some really amazing fantasy lately, so maybe this will continue on with that trajectory. Speaking of fantasy, this is one that has been on my TBR for ages, and I know the sequel came out recently. I haven't seen many people talking about the sequel, but this gained a lot of buzz when it first came out, and that is The Golem and the Ginny by Helene Wecker. And this is another one I don't know too much about. It's about 500 pages, but you know how, do you ever have a gut feeling that you're gonna love something? I have that feeling about this one. And I know it feels a bit more fall, winter, something about it, like the cover has snow on it. So this might be a late September read for me, but I'm excited to finally get to this one. And I figured by limiting my options, maybe I'll actually pick up a few that I've been wanting to read but just haven't prioritized. Then we have one from one of my favorite authors, Kazuo Ishiguro, and this is The Remains of the Day. I know that this one is kind of a simpler story than some of his others, and it's just following a butler named Stevens and his career, but I've seen some people really love this one. I've been told that this is a lot of people's favorites of his, and he never misses for me, so I know I'm gonna love this one. I just love his writing, the moral and ethical questions that he gets you to think about, and just he gets you to think about humanity in a whole new way, so I'm so excited for that. This one was actually sent to me by the publisher, St. Martin's Press, and it is The Therapist by B.A. Paris. And I have never read anything by B.A. Paris. Actually, one of my closest friends lent me one of, I believe B.A. Paris is a woman, lent me one of their books a while ago, and I just never picked it up. I think it was called Breakdown or Break Even, something like that. So I was kind of really excited when I saw this in the mail. And this is actually a hardcover, and I saw the book at Walmart here in Canada, and it's a paperback, so I think that's interesting. I'm always kind of nervous about these kind of things, thrillers that revolve around therapy and mental health, because they can really go in the wrong direction for me, but I'm going to keep an open mind. I am going to participate in the Enneagram readathon, and one of them is to read a thriller, so I think this is going to be the one that I pick up, because I don't actually own a ton of thrillers. I tend to listen to them on audio. Now here are two books that I've showed so many times because I've been saving them for this moment. These are the ultimate beach poolside reads. I cannot wait, and it is the Deadly Inside Scoop and A Game of Cones. These are the first two books. Is it in the Ice Cream Parlor murder series, I believe, and they are just cozy mysteries with the cutest covers. There are cats on these covers. There's ice cream cones. I can just picture myself reading this on the beach or by the pool with an ice cream cone, taking pictures for Bookstagram, of course, and just loving these. I've really been in the mood for some kind of more cozy mysteries, and I think these are going to be incredible. And I think there's a third one that's coming out soon, so really excited to finally get to these. I feel like I've been coveting them and holding on to them and saving them for ages now. Look at me, I'm not used to sitting on a couch while I film, so I'm like leaned back, kind of getting lazy over here, but that's okay. And then I have For the Wolf, and this is by Hannah Witten, and again, this is probably one I will read in September because it's major fall vibes, and I really start reading more horror, thriller, atmospheric books starting in September, so that's perfect for this. I really thought about what kind of books I'm going to be in the mood for. I have seen some mixed reviews about this one since it came out, but I still have high hopes because I think people have said there's not much of a plot or something, but I like that. Give me atmosphere, give me some great characters. I don't care about the plot as much. I know that's kind of strange, but that's just how I am. And I think this is kind of a book inspired by Little Red Riding Hood, if you can't tell by the cover. And I believe the wolf in this is actually a man. And really, I think I'm just gonna love this one for the setting, for the atmosphere, and just I think it'll be a good one to really get me into the fall mood. Now this one I'm not so sure about, but I am very curious. And Reese Witherspoon's book club picks can be really hit or miss for me, and especially this one I think has the cheating trope, which is not always my favorite, but it's a more of a literary fiction than a romance, I believe. So there's potential that I will like it, and that is The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. And this book has been everywhere. It is on a lot of bestseller lists, and I believe that the main character is in her 50s, which I appreciate, and I think that's interesting. That I need to read more books with older main characters, because a lot of the ones I read do tend to be people in their 20s. And this one follows Elle, who's on vacation with her husband and her best friend, who's a man, and her best friend's wife. And she ends up sleeping with her best friend and has to figure out what will make her happy, what she wants to do from there. So this could go either way for me, but I've been hearing some great things, so I do think there's a chance that I will like this. Then we had the first two books in a series, and I believe the third one just came out, so I really need to get my hands on that. And that is The Crown of Feathers and Hearts of Flames. And these are by Nikki Powell-Prado, and I just have this drive. I'm just in the mood to like dig into a really fun YA fantasy series, and these books are huge. I haven't read a lot of books like about phoenixes or dragons or things like that. That's not really the fantasy that I lean towards. It's more witchy, magical, that kind of stuff. But I am intrigued by this one. I've heard incredible things about it. And the opening thing on the back here says, I had a sister once. I promised her the throne would not come between us. But it is a fact of life that one must kill or be killed, rule or be ruled. Sometimes the title queen is given, sometimes it must be taken. So if that doesn't sell you on this series, I don't know what will, but cannot wait to just dive into this. I just want to marathon it, so I'll probably order the third book and have it sent here pretty soon. But again, those look like good fall reads to me as well. And then here is another beach read, one I've been saving for months and months, and it's Accidentally Engaged by Farrah Heron. And I just have this feeling that I'm going to adore this. It's going to be a new favorite romance for me. And I know that this has the fake dating trope. Our main character is a baker. She makes sourdough bread, so I think that's a big part of the story. And the whole world of sourdough is really interesting to me. And she wants to enter a cooking competition, but it's for couples. So her and her next door neighbor pretend to be dating, pretend to be engaged, so that she can enter this cooking competition. And obviously things go from there. So all is fair in love in baking, it says on the back. So I think I could probably read this in a day on the beach and just be so happy. Now here's one I think a lot of people will be excited to see because so many people on BookTube love this. And that is A Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. And this has been everywhere. It's so many people's favorite series. I love the premise that we're following the daughters of famous literary figures like Mr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde. I believe Sherlock Holmes is actually, and Watson are actually characters in here that help these girls because all these, they're being hunted and murdered, I think, by their fathers. So this is a series that I want to get to. Is there 3 books? So if I love this one, I might purchase the other ones as well. But I just love the premise of that. I've heard amazing things. Sounds like a fun one. I've realized that I just trust other people on fantasies because I don't know a lot about the fantasy world. So when I hear somebody talking about something that kind of intrigues me, I just pick it up when I see it. So this is Fireborn by Rosaria Munda. And again, don't know much about this. I think this has dragon riders, which is really, really fun. And I think it's just a duology. And the second one is called Flamefall. So if I love that, I'll get the second one. And I love duologies. So I think it'll be interesting. Maybe in September, I will read all these and vlog it because I'm very new to the fantasy world, dragons, especially that kind of fantasy. So it might be interesting to vlog it and give you my opinions. So yeah, look forward to that because I have a feeling I'm gonna love this one. The cover is so, so cool. And that is it for the ones that I brought with me. It seems like a lot, but then I sit here and I'm like, is that enough reader problems? And so I did buy 3 from a local independent bookstore that I love. And the first one is The Night Watchman, and this is by Louise Erdrich. And this actually won the Pulitzer Prize this year. So I have been wanting to get my hands on it. And actually it already has a sticker that says winner of the Pulitzer Prize. They are very quick on that. And actually Louise Erdrich is somebody that has been recommended to me so many times. If you are a member of the Storygraph, they give you recommendations based on a survey that you do, and so many of her books are on there. So I think I'm gonna love this one. And from what I've heard of this one, it's actually based on the author's grandfather and his story, a fictionalized version of that. So I think it's going to be deeply personal and very moving, and one that I will probably have to take my time with, but ultimately really, really love. I don't always pick up the Pulitzer Prize winners, but this one really, really caught my attention and I knew I had to get it. It's just beautiful. And then I picked up Parabol the Sorrow by Octavia E. Butler, who I'm ashamed to say I have never read from before. I haven't read a lot of classic sci-fi. I tend to just pick up new releases as they come out, but I want to dive back more to the backlist because I've really re-found my love for sci-fi this year. I cannot believe I was looking at my charts on the Storygraph to see the genres that I've read from, and I read so much sci-fi this year. It's incredible, and I'm loving that. And there's actually a blurb from N.K. Jemisin, a forward from N.K. Jemisin on here, which is really, really cool because I love N.K. Jemisin and I love her writing. And actually the bookmarks from the bookstore are in here. And the scary thing about this one is it was written in 2000, but it's set in 2020, and it's about climate change and economic crises, and maybe it's all too familiar, but I'm curious to see Octavia E. Butler's take on that. And then I have a feeling I will love this, and I will want to read more from her. And I know I really need to read Kindred because that's the one that everybody seems to talk about and really love. So I'm just hoping to get to this one soon again. I feel like a lot of these are more suited towards fall than the summertime, but that tends to be what I'm drawn to anyways. And then the last one was completely a cover buy for me because it's got a bookstore on it and a cat, and it is called The Bookshop of Second Chances. How cute is that cover? And all I know is that this is a romance of a woman who wants to get away from her life, and she moves to the Scottish coast, and she finds herself locked in a battle of wills with an intriguing, aloof bookseller. And I just love that kind of love interest that's more aloof and you have to really break down their walls. I don't know, give me a brooding man with heart. I love that kind of thing, and looks like it's gonna be set in a bookstore. I'm sold. I'm also love anything set in Ireland, Scotland, Britain. Just fun for me, especially on the coast. So this seems like a good beach read. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, so I'll get to it soon and let you know what I think. So that is it. Those are all the books that I brought with me to read over the next 2 months. I know it seems like a lot, but I'm such a mood reader, but it's been working out perfectly for me so far because the 4 books that I've read since I've been here have all been There's been one 4-star and the rest have been 5-star. I really think it happened one summer is gonna be a 5-star read for me. It's so cute. But anyways, now that I'm here, because I'm by the beach and there's more to do, I think I will start vlogging again. So I look forward to those. Thank you again for your time. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.